What's up, you sexy beast? That's right. I'm talking about you. I like that shirt you're wearing. So here's the thing. My name is Benji Bruce. I'm with Speaking Lifestyle. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact process that we use to get speakers booked. You can simply duplicate this process, use it to get yourself booked. I'm going to show you everything that you need to know in order to get yourself booked on stages more consistently, just get more gigs, more paid gigs, a whole shadoodle. This is not one of those like boring ass videos where the person talks about themselves for 30 minutes and then finally they get into stuff and then it's like basic stuff that you already know. Some of the stuff I'm going to have to pull back in terms of details because it's too damn detailed. Like when I start talking about lead score, sales cadence, all that sort of stuff, people are going to be like, what you talking about? What's that? Huh? And so some of the stuff I may pull back on the details, but I'm going to tell you right now, you'll probably get more out of this video than a lot of people's paid content, to be honest. I'm not bragging or nothing, maybe a little bit, but I'm just saying. So in this video, I'm going to show you in terms of the difference between the speakers who get paid, the speakers who essentially book 50 plus events a year. I'm going to show you just how to find events, how to contact the events. I'm going to show you a ton of different stuff. I got my notes here. I'm going to show you like the exact process that we use to help speakers get booked. I've got all my notes. So yeah, we're just going to get going. And like I said, I'm not going to talk about myself for 30 minutes or really at all, to be honest, because if you want to look me up, you can type in Benji Bruce, go to YouTube, Benji Bruce, whatever you want to do. Like you'll see me from when I performed as an entertainer to speaking, all that sort of stuff. You'll see all the stuff. It doesn't matter. Plus, it doesn't matter about me. It's about getting you booked on stages. Damn, come on now. So the first thing I want to get into is the difference between the speakers who get booked and the speakers who don't. So that leads me to this quote by Sun Tzu from The Art of War. This is one of my favorite quotes. He says, all men can see these tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is a strategy out of which victory is evolved. I'll say that again. All men can see these tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is a strategy out of which victory is evolved. Right now, a lot of people watching this, you think you're missing the tactics and the techniques. I know that because I thought the same thing when I was starting out. I'm like, just tell me, get to the damn point. Stop with all this mindset stuff. Just get to the damn point. Tell me some damn tactics and techniques. I thought the same thing. Like when I was starting, like once again, I was an entertainer to begin with. I was doing these mentalism shows. Then I switched to being a speaker because speakers just get paid more. And so in the beginning, I knew I could cold call to get events. Like I knew I could cold call. I just call up the company. Be like, hey, I'm the greatest alive. You got to bring me in. I knew I could do that, but I didn't I didn't know what to say. I didn't really know how to speak. I didn't know who to call, which events pay. I didn't know any of that stuff. And then I'm talking about this with my friend Rich. My friend Rich was business minded as all hell. This dude was like freaking insane when it came to business. And so I was talking to him about it, and he's like, you're thinking too much about it. He just opens, this is back in the phone book days. He takes a phone book, opens a phone book to a random page, a random business page. He's like, watch this. Just calls up a number, like just calls up a business, whatever he just turned to. He's like, all right. They're like, hi, so-and-so plumbing company or whatever. He's like, hi, Jane, yeah, my name is Rich. I'm actually an entertainer. I'm an illusionist. I was wondering, do you guys have like any events, any company events where you bring in some entertainment or anything? Like, oh, no, we don't. Okay, thanks. Click. Then he calls up another company. Hi, or they answer, hey, so-and-so IT company. Hi, so-and-so. Yeah, my name is Rich. I'm actually an entertainer. I do these illusion shows. I was wondering, like, do you guys have any company events where you bring in some entertainment, whatever? And then eventually, like, after about 10, someone was like, yeah, we actually do. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, do you have a pen and paper? I mean, you can write down the link to my website, check it out. In fact, I'll give you guys a call in a couple of days after you looked at it. And he's sitting there talking with him. I'm like, holy shiznit. I'm like, this dude's a freaking genius. And so it was like that moment when I realized like it's not about tactics and techniques because I knew I could cold call. A lot of you guys know you could cold call, cold email. You know this stuff. You know you can do it. You may not know the details of it, but you know about cold calling, about cold email. You know about it. And so I thought the problem was the tactics and the techniques, but like the Sun Tzu thing, no one really sees a strategy out of which victory is evolved. And so right now, what's going on inside of your mind is there's like self-doubt. There's a lot of excuses that like a lot of things, lack of discipline, all that stuff that's actually getting in your way that you don't realize it. And you think it's the tactics and the techniques. I'm going to talk about the tactics and the techniques, but once I talk about them, I'm going to say, see, told you so, because the tactics and the techniques are easy as all hell. It's everything else that's hard. It's the self-discipline, the self-doubt, no excuses, all that sort of stuff. That's the hard part. And so there's essentially there's nothing that the speakers who are getting booked are doing that you essentially can't do. They're just doing things a little bit differently. So it's more of they usually do it, like they just do the work to begin with. They tend to do it more often and they tend to do it the right way. That's usually why. Like they just do it better. And so those are the things. It's not that they're doing things you don't know about. It's not that you don't know about cold emailing. It's not that you don't know about cold calling. It's just that they're actually doing it. And then they're doing it more often and they're doing it better. And that's the thing. And so right now, I guarantee most people watching this, you're either doing the wrong things, you're doing the right things the wrong way, or you're simply just not doing anything. Now, like that's literally what it is. And so it's like a lot of people, maybe they're doing the right things, but not often enough. So that's really it. You're doing the wrong things. You're doing the right things, but not often enough, or you're essentially doing the right things the wrong way. And those are really the three main things in terms of a lot of speakers in general. And so, I don't blame this on speakers. I blame it on the gurus teaching speakers, because a lot of gurus, and this is actually why I started Speaking Lifestyle, because I saw it was like a lot of BS. Okay. Just saying, like, here's a guy. So once again, my background, I went from entertainment to speaking. This is all I've ever done for a living. I've never had a job. And so my background is I'm doing this. I'm like doing it. I'm getting booked, Affleck, AAA, Remax, all these companies. I'm getting booked like crazy. And I look at some of the information out there. I'm like, what are they talking about? That's not how it works. And so a lot of these guys out there, they're booty bandits. These gurus, they're booty bandits. And what I mean by that is they're blowing smoke up your butt. Like that's what they're doing. They're booty bandits because they're blowing smoke up your butt. And so essentially what these guys are really doing in terms of these gurus is they're essentially telling you that everything is really, really easy. And that's where the problem is. So it's kind of like they say things, they may not say exactly like it's easy, but they imply how easy it is. So they say things like, hey, use my email template and this will get you booked. Hey, this simple 3-step process to contact meeting planners with this email template has gotten me 10 gigs in a month. And they imply it's easy. And literally, they're blowing smoke up your butt. That's why I call them booty bandits. So they're blowing smoke up your butt, implying how easy it is. And then when you start doing the work, you're like, damn, this sucks. This is a lot harder than he talked about, man. Come on, what the hell? And so I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I'll tell you right now, like it is hard. And so I'm going to tell you like how it actually works. But you truly, truly have to commit first. I'm going to show you our pipeline. I'm going to show you like everything. I'll even talk about the email templates, all of it. I'll show all of it, but you have to commit first. I know a lot of people think they're committed, but they're not. There's a huge difference between the people who dabble and the people who commit. So the people who dabble is very similar to bodybuilders versus people who set New Year's goals to lose weight. Bodybuilders are committed. People who set New Year's goals, they dabble, and that's why they quit. So you got to truly understand the difference. And when I truly committed, when you commit, what happens is everything kind of shuts off in your mind except the one thing that you want to do. And this happened to me, like I didn't deliberately choose to commit. It was kind of forced upon me. And this is what I mean by me kind of going over in my head. What are the tactics and the techniques? Like, what do I say on the call? What do I say in the email? And like which events pay and all that sort of stuff. Like I thought I was committed. And then what happened was, so back in the day, remember this is before I'm a speaker. This is when I'm just an entertainer. I'm performing in restaurants. I go table to table. And I would perform for people. So I perform for groups. I walk up to a group. I say, hey, guys, my name is Benji. I'm the miracle worker here. Would you guys like to see a miracle? Something along those lines. I'd be like, hey, I'm Benji. I'm a mentalist here. Would you guys like to see a miracle? And that's what I would say. And then people were like, oh, yeah, show us a miracle. And so I'd perform for them. And people would be like, oh, my goodness. Oh, this is the greatest thing alive. So we're going to do something with a watch. And I'm going to set this to a certain time. And hopefully you'll be able to tell me what it is. Okay. I'm going to show the camera what that is. Okay. Are you right-handed? Yeah. Alright, hold your right hand out. I'm going to put this on you just so we can't see it. And Shane, you're thinking of a time, yes? Okay. Good time, just picture a clock, okay, and just try to actually picture it inside your head the entire time, the hour and the minutes. What's the hour?
It's 12.
12. Okay. Is there a reason why you thought 12?
No.
Okay. What's the minutes?
What are the minutes?
Yeah.
37.
So 12:37. You see what time I said that to? No fucking way.
You're a real asshole.
And so people would flip out. And so I was comfortable with these restaurants because, like I said, I was doing that full time. I'm getting paid a good amount, getting all these tips and everything. But then one day, it was like in the same weekend, all these restaurants, I was doing like 5, 6 restaurants, whatever, but damn near all of them, except for one of them, all of them literally let me go. All of them, they were like, Benji, yeah, so unfortunately, this has to be the last night because we can't afford to pay you anymore. And I mean, you can come in and just do it for tips, but we just can't afford to pay. And when the first restaurant said that to me, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. We got the other ones. And then I go to the next restaurant. Benji, yeah, unfortunately. And that happened with like damn near every restaurant. And so that was the moment. That was the first time ever when I was like actually scared. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have to get a job. And like, it was all this stuff was going on in my head. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so that was the moment where I truly decided to commit to actually go corporate and to contact the companies, because I knew that's where the money was at. And so it was forced on me. I said, okay, I can go back and I can find other restaurants, or I can just commit to actually doing this cold call and cold email and stuff and actually get booked that way. And so that was like the moment where I went from dabbling to commitment. And so a lot of speakers are dabbling and everyone seems to think they're committed. But I'll tell you right now, you are dabbling if you don't have a CRM. Now, some of you are like, what's a CRM? That's what I'm talking about. These booty bandit gurus are blowing smoke up your butt and they're telling you how easy this stuff is. And they haven't even mentioned a CRM. And so if you don't have a CRM for your business, that's like saying you want to be a photographer and you don't have a DSLR camera. That's like me teaching photography classes. And I say, go buy a DSLR. And person's like, what's a DSLR? I'm like, what? And so it's the same thing with speakers. You think you're committed, but you're not committed until you literally have a CRM and you're building a real business. So that's what I want to get through to a lot of guys here. The difference between the speakers who are getting booked and everybody else. Sure, I'll talk about how to find events, how to contact them. I'll show you the pipeline that we use, everything. I'll show all that sort of stuff, but none of it matters until you truly commit to begin with. So most speakers, they simply don't get booked because they're simply just not doing anything. They're doing nothing. They're doing too many things. They're doing the wrong things. They're doing the right things the wrong way, and they're not doing enough of the right things. And so that's like the main reason in terms of why speakers don't get booked. So it's one of those 5 things. I'll say it again. They're doing nothing, meaning they're looking at stuff. They're looking at videos like this or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Or they're like, oh, I don't like the purple that he wears. And they're doing nothing. They agree, disagree, whatever it is. They do nothing. Tomorrow, nothing happens. They don't find events, nothing. And so they do nothing. They do too many things. So they're like, well, yeah, I'll start contacting events. I'll do a podcast too. Let me create some video content. Let me write a book. Let me do a workshop. They're doing too many things. And then they're doing the wrong things. So like if you want to get booked on stages and you're writing a book, that's the wrong thing to do. Like it's just a wrong thing. I don't have time to go into why it's wrong, because I know you think you'll build your authority by writing a book, all sort of stuff. It's wrong though. So too many guys are doing the wrong things. And then also they're doing the right things, but the wrong way. So it's like if you start cold emailing today, what you say is going to probably be wrong, because anything that you start out with, you never start out being perfect at it. And so when you start out cold emailing, you're not going to do it the right way. It's like if you start out playing basketball and you've never played basketball, you're not going to be good at it. And so you may be doing the right things, but you may be doing it the wrong way. Or maybe the 5th one is you're just not doing enough of the right things. So let's say you are cold emailing, but you only send 1 email a day. That's not enough. Like if you're only contacting 1 person a day, that's simply not enough. So you need to understand something, that your problem isn't your message. And I know a lot of speakers out there, they're like, I have a message, I have a story that I want to share, and everyone they're motivated with it. They're like, I just got this story, this incredible, inspiring past that they have, and they're like, I just got this message that I want to put out into the world and everything. And so I know a lot of people have that. They have a message and everything, but your problem isn't your message. Your problem is nobody knows who you are. And so you have to understand the marketing aspect to get people to know who you are. You got to do it the right way. You got to systematize it, all that sort of stuff. Once again, we're going to talk about all that stuff. But before I get into it, I can't stress this enough. You have to truly get to a point where you're committing instead of dabbling. And so I did this all the time in terms of I knew I should do outreach. I just didn't do it. And like I said, until I got let go by all the restaurants, that's when I started doing it. Like I knew it. I just didn't do any of this stuff. And a lot of people right now, they're like, I know that. A lot of people are doing that right now. And I guarantee you tomorrow, they're not even going to contact 10 events. I just know that. Like it just happens. I think it happens to almost everybody until you get to that commitment standpoint. And then once you commit, everything in your life changes. And so it happened for me, and it happened slowly, like with the phone book thing. When I saw my friend, he opened up the phone book, called him. Even when he did that, like that's when I was like, oh damn, this stuff really works. But I still didn't do it. I still didn't commit to it the way like he was. And so I didn't commit to it. And then there was another moment with the same friend, Rich, where what happened was I was performing in the restaurants. This guy, he gave me his business card. He's like, hey, yeah, give me a call sometime. And at this point, I kind of knew like, okay, maybe I should do something. But what do I say to this guy? I'm like, I don't really know what to say. So once again, I was talking with my friend Rich. I'm like, hey man, like this dude gave me his business card, but what do I say? Like he told me to call him, but what do I say? So my friend Rich, he just takes a business card from me. He just takes it. He's like, just calls the number right there and then. And I'm like, well, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? He's like, I don't know yet. And so the guy answers. He's like, hello, this is Rondi speaking. And he's like, hi, Rondi. Yeah, this is Rich. You saw my guy the other day at the Rock Bottom Brewery restaurant. My guy, Benji Bruce, he was performing for your table, the illusionist there. What'd you think of him? He said, oh, he was great. The guy was amazing. Oh, he said, oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Do you have any events coming up or you like want to bring in some entertainment or anything like that? And the guy, Rondi, he's like, well, actually, my kid's birthday party's coming up. And so my friend Rich cuts him off. He's like, oh, no. You saw Benji. You don't bring this guy in for a kid's birthday parties. He does all the big stuff. This is a guy you want to bring in when you want to impress your corporate clients. You want to impress people. You bring them in. I've seen Benji have a huge crowd of 50 people, like all in a circle over a single salt shaker, just amazed in awe. And he's like talking me up big time. I'm like, damn. And then eventually I got booked. I mean, the guy booked me for like a corporate event of his. And so, like I knew it and I still didn't do it. Like there was just, I know I should be, I just didn't do it. And so, eventually, like what made me do it was once again when I got let go by the restaurants. That's when I truly started doing it because it was forced upon me. But I still didn't like believe it fully until Remax hired me strictly from a cold email. So I cold email all day, every day, by the way. Like that's all I was doing. Cold emailing anybody. I just cold emailed. Then eventually when Remax finally hired me, like there's a CEO, the VP of Remax, all that stuff. They're at this event. That's what the event was about. And when they hired me, I was like, damn, it actually works. And that was like when I truly like believed it and went beast mode on the whole thing.
So I work for Remax LLC here in Denver, Colorado, and I just saw Benji Bruce and shut up. That was amazing.
Speakers who get booked are the ones who focus on just one thing at a time. They're not saying I got to do a podcast. I got to create a video. I got to write my book. I got to do outreach to get on stages. I got to do some workshops. I got to do online training. Like those speakers, they never make it because they're doing too many things and they're getting nothing done. So what you do is you focus on something until you master it. And this is why I don't think people understand how long it takes to master something. And that's why everyone seems to do a lot of stuff because there's a lot of distractions going on, especially in the speaking industry. Like in the speaking world, everyone's like, you can do webinars, online training, you can do live workshops, you can do podcasts, you should be writing a book to build authority. Like there's all this stuff. And so it doesn't give you any time to master any one of those things. And so, like, let's say you want to master doing outreach. If you want to get booked on stages, you have to reach out to events. There's no way around it. Like, no way around it. If you're doing anything other than reaching out to events, you simply will not get booked. That's just a fact. You can believe me or not. To me, that's like when people don't believe me with that, I just don't even argue, because that's like arguing with someone who doesn't believe in gravity. You can say gravity doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. Gravity doesn't care if you believe in it or not. If you jump off a building, you're going down. And the same goes with getting gigs. If you don't reach out to events, if you do everything except reaching out to events, you will not get booked. And that's just a fact. So it doesn't matter if you believe me or not. It's a fact. And so what happens in terms of mastering, I'm going to get back to mastering stuff. So you got to focus on one thing until you master it. So it's like, if you want to master reaching out to events, what you have to do is you have to get your CRM set up. So you got to buy the CRM, you get your lead score set up, the sales cadence set up, you get your pipeline set up, you get all that stuff set up. A lead score is simply a list of qualities about an event that's more likely to hire you. And then a sales cadence is simply like, it's what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of telling you, like, on day 1, I'm gonna send an email. Then if they don't respond, then on day 4, I'll send another email. If they don't respond, then on day 7, I'll make a call. So your sales cadence is kind of telling you what to do, like how often you should follow up and all that sort of stuff. But so first you get your CRM set up, okay? Now you have to know how to pitch. So you have to know exactly what to say in your emails. You have to know how to say, you got to know how to sound in demand instead of sounding like you're begging. So you have to know how to do that. You have to know how to follow up. So you have to know how to set up the CRM activities in terms of follow up. You got to know how to do that, setting the reminders and all that stuff in your CRM. You got to fill out your lead score as you're talking to the event. What else? You got to get used to the work. So the actual work itself is going to be really boring. Like, you're sitting down at your computer most of the day, you're like emailing these events, and it's really boring. So you got to get used to that boredom. It takes longer than you think. So you got to get used to how long it takes, the lag time between when you contact and get booked. You got to get used to all that stuff. And this is just reaching out to events. This is just you contacting the events. And so you got to master that stuff. And so that's, once again, that's just that thing. Now, let's say you want to master content creation. Let's say you want to create videos. You got to master content creation because you're going to build the brand or whatever. So now you got to master, how do you come up with a ton of ideas? Like, where are you putting the ideas? In your phone and all? Like, where are you putting the ideas? How are you fleshing out the content in terms of the bullet points? You got to master all that sort of stuff. You got to master how you're filming it, how you edit it. When you upload it, you got to make sure the description is right, the headline, the tags and all that stuff. You got to master that sort of stuff. You got to master, how are you going to promote it? Are you sending out to your email list? Do you have an email list? Do you know how to build the email list with advertising? Advertising is a whole other thing you got to master, like pixels and stuff on the website. And you got to master all this stuff in terms of just content creation. And so, like, then you got to think, oh, is your content even connecting with your audience? Because just because you film a video or a podcast or whatever doesn't mean people like it and they're connecting with it. So there's all this stuff that you have to master. And you have to master it one at a time, like just once. And then once you master it, then you move on. I didn't start creating content until I freaking owned the industry. I freaking dominated just getting booked on stages. Like, I tell people, don't switch until you make $250,000 in the thing that you're mastering. So if you say, I want to get booked on stages and you're going to do outreach, don't switch to webinars, selling programs. None of that. Don't switch until you've made $250,000 doing outreach. Then once you've done that, now you can start doing a podcast and all that sort of stuff. Or let's say you start with a podcast. Now you master that at first. Do that until you make $250,000. So it's like, once you do that, then you can switch. But you don't just keep hopping and switching every time you get a little demotivated, a little frustrated. And so you got to master all this stuff. And so what's happening to a lot of speakers, and once again, I'm going to show you the whole detail in just a second. I'm going to show you the pipeline, all that sort of stuff. We're going to get detailed in just a second. But what happens with a lot of guys is they keep saying, I know I should cold call. I know I should cold email. I know are the two most dangerous words for any entrepreneur. These are the two words that are literally killing your dreams, saying I know, because knowing is logical. Knowing anything is really easy to understand. It's logical. Essentially, doing is more emotional. When you do something, that's when emotions come into play. So it's like I said, You know you can cold email to get events. You know you can cold call to get events. When you do it, though, what's going to happen is the emotional aspect is going to come into play. You're going to get bored. You're going to sit down and be like, damn, this is boring as all hell. You're going to get frustrated because the technology or whatever, maybe it has stopped working or something. And you're going to get frustrated. Like, God damn it, man, what the hell? Like, you're going to get frustrated. Maybe, hopefully you don't break your computer. It almost happened to me before, but you're going to get frustrated. And so I know is a logical response. It's something that anyone can do. You know, like I can, you know how to play basketball. If you don't know, you can easily know how to do it. Like, you know, okay, shoot the ball, dribble, okay, defense. Like, you know it, but can you beat Michael Jordan? It's very, very different in terms of knowing and executing. And so a lot of times we think it can't be that easy or that simple. And so what happens is, because we think it can't be that easy or that simple, we tend to make it harder than what it actually is. And so it's like, if you want to get gigs, all you have to do is cold email. That's it. That's it. No podcast, no book, no video, no nothing. Like, you cold email. That's how you get booked. But then people say, oh, are you sure? Because then, I mean, I got to write a book to build authority. Then, I got to have a podcast, and everyone's talking about a podcast. I mean, but what about workshops too? It's like we make it complicated. And so there is no, like, what else? A lot of people say, like, well, what else? I mean, you cold email to get booked, but what else? There is no what else. That's it. And so I'm going to show you the process right now, the exact process. Maybe I don't know, like, post a picture of this or something, because it's kind of as detailed or whatever. But this is the exact process that we use to get SpeakPro Academy members booked. These are the members inside of our program. And this is a process that we tell everyone to use. So, like, at the very top in the green, so the green part is like the easy part, okay? So the green part, this is where you're prospecting. The prospecting is where you're finding events. So you're sitting down and you're finding events. Then after you find a list, so let's say you sit down for 90 minutes, you find as many events as you can in 90 minutes. Now you're going to send out email number one. Email number one is it's a specific email inside of SpeakPro Academy. It's really simple with email number one. It's very similar to if you walk up to somebody and say hi, and you just kind of introduce yourself instead of just going up to somebody and just like throwing up on them and pitching them and all that sort of stuff. You kind of just say, like, hi, so-and-so. I saw your XYZ event. I was wondering who hires the speakers for your events. And that's it. That's email number one. And then if they don't respond, you follow up. If they don't respond to that, you follow up, and so on. And then after they respond, you're going to pitch them. And that's the last part of the green part, where you pitch them. You're like, hey, I'm the greatest speaker alive. You got to hire me. And not that pitch, but you get what I'm saying. But then you're going to pitch them. And if they don't respond, you follow up, you follow up, you follow up. And this is all systematized, by the way. This is all inside of your CRM, the email templates, everything. So you'll notice that in each one of these, like where it says follow up and all that, and then the green and the purple, every single one of these has an email template to it. So, like, let's say we go down to where you send the contract. So let's say you got all the way to the point, you contact, you pitch them. They're like, hey, what do you charge? And you ask them questions, you quote your fee, and then now you're going to send the contract to them. Sometimes what'll happen is they just won't respond after that. Like, you send a contract, you're like, what the hell, man? Like, what? And so now you send a follow-up, like you send a follow-up email. And if they don't respond to that, you send a follow-up email. And so you have email templates for everything, because it's all systematized. It's a repeatable process that you just do over and over and over again. This is your sales pipeline that you're going to use with each and every single event that you ever contact. You do not steer away from the pipeline. So you do not contact an event and say, hi, so-and-so, I'm the greatest speaker alive. How about we schedule a 10-minute call? You don't do that. You don't need to schedule a call to get booked. Okay, that's a whole other video, all like in and of itself. But you have to stick to the pipeline. You have a simple process, and you do that over and over and over again. And that's how you fill up your calendar. So let me go into some tactics and techniques. This is what I mean when I say tactics and techniques don't mean a damn thing. I truly, truly do not know how to emphasize this anymore, because when I started, nobody could tell me a damn thing about tactics and techniques. They don't really matter. Like, I'd be like, shut the hell up. Give me some damn tactics and techniques. Like, nobody could say a damn thing. I'd just be like, shut up, man. What exactly do I say here? And so this is what I mean, okay? How do you find events? A lot of speakers wonder, how do you find events? And this is literally the easiest thing to do, finding events, okay? Finding events isn't your problem. Getting hired is, and I'll prove it right now. Here's how you find events. You go to Google, google.com, type in any type of keyword that matches up with an event. Gala, award banquet, conference, sales event, and whatever. Type in any one of these. Anything that pops up is a potential event that you can contact. Bam! I just gave you a way to find 1 million events within 2 seconds. You simply go to Google, okay? Now, by the way, if you want to see a different list of all the ways you can find events, go to speakinglifestyle.com/finding-speaking-gigs. So go to that link, and you'll see I've 22 different ways you can use to find gigs. But to be honest, the number one way that I've always used and I tell everyone to use is just go to Google. Go to Google, you have a list of keywords that you type into Google, and from there, you're going to contact those events that pop up, okay? So this is what I mean in terms of the mindset versus the tactic stuff. I just told you a way to find events in any industry, any country, anything whatsoever, a way to find hundreds and thousands and millions of events every single day. And I guarantee you, most people still will not do it. I guarantee it. Because what happens is, after I say, here's how you find events, go to Google, type these words in: award banquet, gala, conference, sales conference, employee event, Christmas party. Type those in, and those are potential events you can contact. The moment I do that, what happens is people say, well, what do I say to them? And so now all these questions pop up inside of your head. People say, well, how do I know which one of these events actually pay speakers? What do I say to them? And so it's like, well, who do I talk to? I don't know who's going to hire the speakers. And so that's what happens. Once again, your mind is getting in the way of execution. That's what I mean. And so you have to ask yourself, how long have you been asking these questions? Because like me, when I was starting out, I used to ask these questions all the time. I'm like, well, how do I find the events? What do I say? Who do I talk to? And so I would ask them all the time, like, which events actually pay? I don't know which events pay. Whereas my friend, remember my friend Rich? He didn't ask a damn one of those questions. He just opened the damn phone book. He's like, all right, I'll find out. Let me contact him, find out. And that's what he did. And that's why the dude was booked like crazy. And so right now, your problem isn't finding events. It's not knowing what to say or whatever. Your problem is simply a lack of execution. Because when you execute, the answers become visible to you. When you execute, the answers are obvious. And so what I mean by that is, let's say, which events pay speakers, okay? So I told you how to find events in any industry, any country, how to find millions of events every single day, hundreds, thousands of events every single day. You go to Google, okay? That's how you find events. Now what's popping up inside your head are questions like, what do you say? Well, what do I pay? And all that sort of stuff. So here's what I mean by the answer is in the execution. So which events pay speakers? All right. That's a bad question. I won't go into why it's bad, but it's a bad question. Okay, so which events pay speakers? It's more about which events are going to pay you. Do you understand what I mean there? Which events are going to pay you? If you're Tony Robbins, every event pays you. If you're Gary Vaynerchuk, every event is going to pay you. But if you're Joe Schmo, pretty much no event is going to pay you. And so you got to understand which events are going to pay you. There isn't a list. There isn't a way you can just look at events and just say, yep, that event pays. Yep, that event's going to pay me. Yep, that event's going to. There is no way. There's no way that can possibly happen. So the way you solve it is through execution. The way you solve it is you contact them and you simply ask them. You contact them and say, hey, who hires the speakers? And even if they hire speakers, even if they pay speakers, like I said, they may not pay you because maybe you don't have. So think about it like this, okay? 2 speakers here. Speaker A has no video footage, has no website, has nothing whatsoever. They just woke up one day. They're just like, I'm a speaker. That's speaker A. Speaker B has a bomb-ass looking website, amazing video footage of them on stage. They just look amazing, okay? Now, if you're essentially going to say which events pay speakers, well, events are going to pay this guy over here because he's got freaking video footage and a bomb ass looking website. Nobody's going to pay speaker A over here because he's got nothing. And so that's what I mean in terms of everything's going to be solved through execution. When you contact them, you're going to find out really quick our event's going to pay you. So you'll find out really quick because when you contact them, they'll say like, oh yeah, well, actually, no, we're good. And so or they're going to say, well, what do you charge? And so that's really how you find out. The same goes with like, what do I say? Like, what do you say? So when I show speakers how to find events, they say like, well, what do I say to them? How do I know which events pay and all sort of stuff? All the problems can be solved through execution rather than sitting down and planning. So even like, what do I say? In the beginning, I used to give speakers like all these email templates. And like SpeakPro Academy members, they have a ton of email templates, like for every freaking response ever. There's a ton of email templates in there. But then I noticed that speakers weren't really doing it. Like they weren't actually doing anything. And they were like, well, because I would go into detail about how to craft your pitch. I'm like, okay, create this Frank Sinatra type sentence and all. Like it's a whole other thing. But I'm like, all right, do it like this, and you got to say this at first to do this. And so speakers like they wouldn't do it. So I just got to a point. I'm like, dude, say anything, man. I don't care if you literally say, hi, so and so. I'm a motivational speaker. I'd love to come speak at your event. Here's my website. Thank you. That is better than the speaker who sits down and does nothing. So it's not like that you don't know. It's just that you're not doing anything. And so your first pitch, you have to remember your first pitch, your first anything is going to suck. And it's like anything. Like let's say you want to become a chess player. When you start out, you're going to suck at it. If you want to be a basketball player, when you start out, you're going to suck at it. If you want to be a football player, you're going to suck at it. If you want to actually send cold emails, if you want to build this business, whatever you do at first, you're going to suck at it because you're not used to it. And so in the beginning, you just have to pitch. Just say anything. Like contact them and say, hi, so-and-so. I'd love to come speak at your event. I'm a motivational speaker. Here's a link to my website. What do you think? That will literally get you a lot further than almost every other speaker out there who's sitting down writing a book, expecting someone to get them booked or whatever. The people who expect speaker agents to get them booked, all sort of stuff. Like if you just say anything, you literally increase your odds of getting booked over 99% of speakers. And what you do is when you initially pitch, you're going to pitch them, then you're going to improve it as you go. This is where you're going to use tools like Yesware or Mailshake. You combine it with your CRM. And what you're going to do when you pitch them, let's say your simple pitch is, hi, John, I notice your Sales 101 event. I'm a sales speaker. Here's a link to my website with videos. What do you think? I'd love to come speak at your event. Even if that was your pitch, okay? If that was your pitch, you send that out. Now you're going to improve as you go. So you send it out and you look to see, did they open the email? So did he open it? Did he read it? Did he click on the link? Like you're going to look at all that stuff. If they did not open the email, then what does that tell you? So like things like Yesware, Mailshake, your CRM, it'll show you whether or not they open the email. So you send the email. Did they open the email? If the answer is no, what does that tell you? What's the feedback of that? What it tells you is you simply have a bad subject line. So whatever you wrote in that subject line, it's bad. It's bad enough to where they're like, I'm not even going to open this damn thing. So that's what happened. On the other hand, if they opened it, but they didn't click on the link to your website, what does that tell you? It tells you that your pitch was really bad, that whatever you said in the email wasn't good enough to create enough curiosity to get them to click on the link to look at your speaker website. And so now you go back, you're like, okay, my subject line worked because they opened it, but for some reason they didn't click on the link. So now I'm going to reword my pitch. Now, on the other hand, let's say they opened the email, they read it, they clicked on a link, and now they didn't respond. Well, what does that tell you? One of the things it tells you is your website sucks because they looked at your website. They're like, all right, dude looks like a scrub. I'm not going to reply. And so that's what it tells you. So now you go back and you improve your website. And so that's essentially what it is you're doing. You improve as you go. Whereas what a lot of speakers try to do is they try to sit down and plan everything out. All right, well, how do I know which events pay? How do I know what to say? How do I contact where are the events? So they're sitting down and they're trying to plan everything instead of just doing it as you go. That's the only way it's going to work. So you have to actually do stuff. Even things like, who do I talk to? This is one of the things that got on my nerves back in the day, because I used to go like into the forums and stuff, and like everyone's like, well, who do I talk to? Who hires the speakers and stuff? And for some reason, everyone's like, well, HR department. You got to contact HR department. You got to contact salespeople. You got to contact marketing people, the marketing department. Oh, the CEO, the CFO. And so throughout all my times getting booked, I'm like, everybody's booked me. Everybody from the CEO to damn near the janitor has been responsible for getting me on a stage. And I've realized like there is no one person in a company that's just going to book you. So there isn't going to be like, oh, you're going to contact HR department and yes, they're responsible for hiring speakers. That's not how it works. What happens in companies and almost everywhere is essentially they're like, okay, we're planning this event. All right, everybody, we're planning our annual employee Christmas party. All right, everybody, our annual employee event. You, Jane, you're in charge of the speakers. You're going to bring in some of the speakers, okay? And that's what happens. They just pick somebody. You're in charge. And from there, like, because you don't know, once again, the solution to your problem of who hires the speakers is execution. It's implementation. So what you do is you send out that first email. Hi, so-and-so, I was wondering who hires the speakers for your events. And that in and of itself solves the problem. So this is why I always wonder, like so many speakers and everybody posts inside of groups and speaker groups and everything. They're like, hey guys, who hires the speakers for events? Why are you asking speakers that? Why don't you ask the company that? The company that you want to get hired for? Why don't you ask them that? Because they'll tell you the right answer. They'll say, oh, Jane is in charge of the speakers. And so once again, that's what I mean by all your problems can be solved through execution. Right now, you're simply not doing anything. You're sitting down, you're thinking too much. And so your problems are solved through execution. So what's happening is most people are standing in their own way. This is where you're planning too much. You're sitting down, you're planning and all that. There's no execution, a lack of execution. You're doing the wrong things. Like you're working on your book. You think your book is going to build authority and all of a sudden gigs are going to fly in or things like that. You're simply doing the wrong things. Or maybe there's a lot of self-doubt going on, or maybe you have a lot of excuses. Oh my goodness, do not get me started on the excuses. Oh my goodness, so many speakers with excuses, or not speakers, just people in general. It's sometimes it amazes me because it's like people are looking for reasons not to succeed. That's what's crazy to me. Okay. And then there's like maybe no systems. A person hasn't systematized their business. There's a lot of reasons as to why a lot of people aren't getting booked. But once again, I just gave you the ways. I gave you exactly how to find events. How do you find events? Go to Google, type in all sorts of keywords. Type in award banquet, type in gala, type in employee event, type in sales conference, type in conference. Any one of these can work. And so you can do any of that. And then on top of it, let's say you type in award banquet, okay? You type that in. Well, on Google, you can also do like the search tools. You can say, I want to look for any ones that popped up in the last 24 hours, anyone that popped up in the last month, the last year, or whatever. And once again, you're going to find a ton more events, okay? There's all kinds of ways to find events. Then, okay, well, what do you say to them? Once again, say anything. Anything is better than nothing. If you just say, hi, so-and-so, whoever you find on the contact page, you find any email on the contact page, like anyone, the info at, John at, Sarah at, any one of them, contact any of them. You just say, hi, Sarah, I was wondering who hires the speakers for your events. That's it. And then once they reply, oh, I do. Now you say, okay, well, Sarah, I'm actually a motivational speaker. I'm a sales speaker. I'm a leadership speaker. I'm a so-and-so speaker. Here's a link to my website with all the video footage. What do you guys think about bringing me in for one of your events? Once again, I just gave you some templates so you can use those. And so you need to understand that you got to get out of your own way. You got to start executing, because when you start executing, all your problems are going to get solved. And so what you have to do once you start executing, you have to systematize your business. So you're going to systematize everything, and then you're going to start to execute with urgency. And so the urgency part, that's one of the things that very few people do, but you have to do it if you want to like truly get going. Because you got to remember, there's guys out there like me who just go into full beast mode, and it's like it's like Usain Bolt versus like a 2-year-old kid. Whereas we're in beast mode, Usain Bolt mode, and a 2-year-old kid is just like, And that's it. So which one are you? Are you Usain Bolt, or are you a 2-year-old kid? Or even better, are you a cheetah? So it's like which one are you going to be? Are you going to execute with urgency, or are you going to kind of go too slow and only contact like one event a day? So let's talk about systematizing your business. How do you systematize your speaking business? Okay, so you got to remember, when it comes to systematizing your speaking business, any repeatable process needs to be systematized. So anything that you do on a repeat basis, you need to systematize it to where you don't have to think about it anymore. And this is something I wish I would have done earlier, because I remember like back in the day when I'm like, well, how do I find events? I used to wake up every day and like, how do I find events? How do I find events? Even when I would Google something like award banquet or whatever, I would still wake up like the next day or next week or whatever. I'd be like, well, how do I find events? How do I find more events? Whatever. I kept waking up doing that. And I'm like, Benji, what's wrong with you, man? You've literally, over the past freaking month, you've used all these keywords into Google and you found events like that. How about you be smart about it? And how about you take those keywords and you put it into a Google document? And if you put it into a Google document, now you can wake up every single day, open up that Google document, and you have a list of keywords that you can use when you wake up today, and just copy and paste that keyword into Google. And so eventually I start getting more systematic with stuff. And so that's what you're doing. Any repeatable process, you systematize it, and you do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so it's like the pipeline, okay? The pipeline, this isn't something I made up. This is just sales 101. Anyone who's been in a sales organization, they understand what a sales pipeline is. A sales pipeline is a repeatable process, a series of steps that you take in order to get a sale. And you do not stray from the pipeline. You stay on that pipeline until you get the sale. It's the same thing over and over and over again with every lead. So it's like the pipeline for events, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So you find the events, you contact, all sorts of stuff. There's incoming, questions, quote, contract, and closed. That's your sales pipeline. That's what you put into your CRM. When you go into your CRM, you customize the pipeline. You put incoming, questions, quote, contract, and closed. And you follow those steps every single time. So an incoming lead is when you first contact an event. You're like, I'm the greatest speaker alive. You got to look at my website. And they're like, well, what do you charge? Now they become an incoming lead. You don't know if they're going to hire you or not. They just ask you, what do you charge? It doesn't mean they're going to hire you. So they become an incoming lead because these guys are more serious than the people who haven't responded to you. So they become an incoming lead. So what's your next step after incoming? Your next step is ask questions. You're going to ask questions about the event. Well, before I tell you everything, I can give you an exact price. I just need to know the answers to these questions. So how many people are going to be at the event? When is it going to be? Do you need me for 60 minutes, 90 minutes? You ask questions about the event. Then after that, after they respond, now you quote a price. Now you say, hey, it's going to be $1 million for 60 minutes. And so you quote your price. After you quote your price, your next step, you send the contract. Here's the contract and all that. After you send the contract, you're going to close a gig, and either they sent the contract back and you close it, and yes, it's a win, or they essentially ghosted you and it's a no and all that sort of stuff, but you close the gig. And so you follow the process every single time. Ooh. All right. And so because of that, when you follow the process, you'll naturally get booked, and you'll keep getting booked over and over and over again by following the process. And so what you do, you find events, you put them into the CRM, you contact the events, then eventually you go through the pipeline of incoming, questions, quote, contract, and close. You're going to follow up with them. All that needs to be systematized. Everything that you do, like the way you find events, remember how I said with finding events, you're going to have a list of keywords. You take a list of keywords, conferences, award banquet, employee event. You like put all these keywords into a Google document. You save this Google document. That is going to be one of your systems. You save it. So that's your system for finding events. Then contacting events. You build out all these templates. So you build out email template number 1, your pitch template. What if they don't respond when you send them a quote? What if they don't respond when you send them the contract? You build out all these templates. You have a template for everything. That's how you're going to contact the events. What about following up? You have follow-up templates. So it's like, what do you say when you follow up? Well, you build out templates for it. It's like, all right, I'm going to say this when they don't respond. And then if they don't respond here, I'm going to say this. You build out all these templates. Your follow-up process, it's the same thing. When you are contacting the events, you're in your CRM. You're sending them an email from your CRM. After you send the email, you click add task and you set a reminder, add task or reminder. You set a reminder on when to follow up with that event. So I'm sending an email to this event. Hey, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I send an email. Now, immediately I click on reminder and I remind myself in 2 weeks from now to follow up with this event. And you build systems. It's systematic because you know you're going to have to do it to each and every event. So you make it systematic in terms of you don't have to think about it. It's just automatic. So that's what you're doing. You got to build systems. So first thing you do, you set up your CRM. By the way, if you're saying like, what is a CRM? Google it. Okay. Just Google the damn thing. And I really mean this because like I said, a lot of these so-called gurus, they've made money off of you because they're telling you how easy stuff is. Use our email template. You'll book 10 gigs and all that sort of stuff. And they're not teaching you how to build a real business. And so if you don't know what a CRM is, that's very similar to a photographer saying, I don't know what a DSLR is. Once again, you got to commit instead of dabble. So look up what a CRM is. Like, just look it up, okay? So until you start investing in your business, you haven't actually committed to it. And a lot of speakers, they think they're committed, but they haven't actually invested in any sort of way in their business. So like a CRM, an expensive one is like, well, no, expensive one is Salesforce, like $75 a month. But most CRMs are like, let's say $15 a month or $20 a month. Some are even $10 a month. Some are even free, okay? The free ones they're not, you can't do too much with them, but still some are free. And until you start investing in this stuff, you won't actually be committed to it. So you have to like truly invest in this stuff because first thing you're going to do, you're going to set up your CRM. You're going to put in the pipeline. The pipeline is incoming, questions, quote, contract, close. After you do that, you're going to change the settings. You're going to put in the lead score. The lead score is a series of qualities about an event that's more likely to hire you. Like let's say you know that award banquets tend to hire you more, or let's say you know that events with 300 plus people hire you more. And then events that ask you to fill out an RFP, like a form. They're like, fill out the speaker form. Those events are likely to hire you less. Like they're less likely to hire you. So they have a negative lead score. So you put in a lead score. Then you have your sales cadence. You set up your sales cadence. You're like, okay, day 1, I'm going to send an email. Then I'll wait for 3 more days. And day 4, I'll actually send out another email, this follow-up email. Then on day 7, I'll send this out. And so you set up your sales cadence. You do all that sort of stuff. Okay. So like I said, I can get detailed as all hell with this sort of stuff, but I don't want to get too damn detailed at this point. So that's what you do. You set up your CRM. Next thing you do, you now create documents. You create documents for your email templates. You create documents for how you're going to find the events, the keywords you're going to use to find the events. You create those documents and you save all this stuff. Once you've done that, now you execute. This is where a lot of people fall off at because they're not used to the execution. So now you're going to execute. So now you're going to follow the process. Now you're simply going to find the events. You're going to put the events into the CRM. You're going to contact those with a template. You're going to contact the events with a template. You're going to change the status of the event to working. Okay. And this, you understand, like when you go into your CRM, like inside of your CRM, when you contact, or you can like click on certain leads and you can click as working, which means you're working on it. So there's leads that are just in there. You can just put leads in there, but that doesn't mean you're like working them. It doesn't mean you're talking to them or anything. And so when you start talking to them, you now mark it as working. But I feel like I'm going into too much detail at this point. But basically, what you're doing is you're building systems, okay? You got to build systems. And so I can't stress that enough because you're going to do all this sort of stuff. You're going to contact them, follow up with them, change the lead as working. You're going to sit there and follow up with the events that don't respond to you, all that sort of stuff. So if you do enough of this and you do it often enough and you do it the right way, you end up like the guys inside the program, like Dave, Betsy, Bob, all like Dave. So he did multiple 6 figures. Okay. So in the beginning, Dave was like practically praying to God because he was struggling like most speakers in general in terms of he was kind of getting screwed by these companies, all that, who were like stealing his leads and everything. And he was like praying to God, like for help because he didn't really know what to do. Like all the booty bandit gurus out there blowing smoke up your butt, they're just like, write a book, you'll have an authority, and then boof, you're going to have all these gigs. They're blowing smoke up his butt. And then all of a sudden he essentially started learning the right way to do it, systematizing everything. And boom, the dude did like multiple 6 figures. Betsy, the same thing. To where like she had her high grossing month because she did the work. She systematized it. She started contacting the events. She had her high grossing month and all that sort of stuff. And bam, she got a ton of gigs. Bob, same thing. Bob, dude was crushing it in terms of like entertainment, all that sort of stuff. And bam, he got like one of 10K gig and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, dude like fills up his calendar. And so I do want to point out, this doesn't happen overnight. What a lot of these booty bandit gurus do is they make you believe that if you send out a single email or whatever, follow their simple 3-step process, and you're going to get booked. It took Dave like a year to actually get things going. That's what happens with almost everybody. It takes you like a year to get this momentum going. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear it's going to take you a year to get things going if you're doing things the right way. Like, nobody wants to hear that sort of stuff. And so because of that, what happens is these gurus tend to say things like, use our simple email template, you'll get a gig in 30 days. And people buy that sort of stuff. People buy those programs because they're like, yeah, it's easy. What they don't want to hear are things like the reality of the situation of it's going to take you a year minimum. And that's if you're doing things the right way. Like that's not, if you're going at it alone, it's going to take you even longer. And so you truly have to understand the reality of a situation. Building a business is hard. I don't care what anyone tells you. Anyone who's actually built one will simply tell you like, nope, it took me a whole lot longer than I thought. It was a lot harder than I thought. And so you just truly have to systematize everything and truly understand the reality of the situation that you're in. If you can keep track of your business, of your leads, of you contacting these events, if you can keep track of all this stuff in your head, then you're not doing enough. That's what I keep telling speakers who don't have a CRM. I'm like, you honestly think you can build a business where you're doing 50 plus events a year and you don't have a CRM? You're not like, you're seriously keeping track of this stuff inside of your head. That just means you're not doing enough, because there's no way in hell you can keep track of thousands of events inside of your head. There's no way. It's not possible. And so you have to understand, like, without systematizing stuff, it won't work. You can't dabble. You have to commit. And so what's going to happen to you mentally when you are actually doing the work is going to be very different than what you think is going to happen. So what's going to happen to you mentally is, in the beginning, you're going to get excited because you're like, yes, all right, like this is the logical moment. You're excited. You're like, yes, I can get booked. I can do cold calling, cold email. Oh yeah, I invested in this program. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Like, you're all excited. This is the logical moment. This is the moment where you have seen the vision, the dream inside of your head. It's logical. Now you got to start doing the work. Okay. Now it goes from logical to emotional, because now you actually have to do the stuff. And so when you start working on it, it becomes emotional. And then what happens is you're cold emailing, okay? You're cold email or cold calling, whichever one you choose, but you're doing outreach, and it's not working exactly how you thought it'd be. You see, you thought that in the beginning, you're like, all right, I'm going to learn how to box. I'm going to be Muhammad Ali. I'm going to be Mike Tyson. Oh yeah. And then you start doing the work. Now you're like, all right, let me put on the gloves. Okay, so here's how I throw a jab. Okay, all right. Here's how I throw a cross. Okay, all right. And then all of a sudden you start doing the work, and you're not Mike Tyson in a week or so. You're like, why am I not Mike Tyson? It's already been 2 weeks. What in the heck, man? I'm not Mike Tyson. I'm not Muhammad Ali. I'm not Floyd Mayweather. And so you're doing the work, but for some reason it doesn't come as fast as you thought. And so it's not working the way you thought. Then what happens is you slow down. So now instead of practicing 4 hours a day, now you go down to practicing 10 minutes a day. That only makes it worse. When you go from practicing a lot to practicing a little, that just makes it worse. And then eventually you give up, and then you try something else. I see it all the time with speakers. Speakers get excited. They're like, yes, I can get booked on stage. I'm going to go all in. This is my New Year's resolution. I'm going to start contacting events. Yes. And then they go from logical to emotional. They start doing the work. They realize the work is boring. They realize, oh my goodness, people aren't saying yes immediately, because they're not, like, remember, anything you start out with, you're not going to be great at it from the very get-go. So you're going to start doing the right things, but you're going to be doing it the wrong way. And so you're going to sit there. It's not turning out the way you thought. 2 weeks go by. You haven't booked a gig. You're like, what's going on here? What the hell? Why am I not a millionaire? It's been 2 weeks already. And you're wondering, like, what's going on? So you slow down. Instead of contacting 50 events a day, you now contact 1 event a day or 5 events a day or something. That only makes it worse, because you're not practicing, you're not contacting enough. So it only makes it worse. And because it makes it worse, you really get demotivated, you give up, and then you switch to something else. You switch to doing a podcast. You switch to trying to sell an online course. You switch to creating video content. You switch to writing a book. And the same process repeats. The same thing. Let's say you switch to doing a podcast, because that's the in thing nowadays. You're like, let me switch to doing a podcast. So what happens? You start creating a podcast episode, then another one, then another one. Then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, 4 weeks go by. You haven't made any money yet. You're like, what's going on here? Why have I not made any money yet? And you slow down. Instead of creating a podcast episode every day or whatever, you slow down. Now you're like, okay, once a week, now once every other week, now once a month. And it only makes it worse. And then you switch to something else because you give up on that and you repeat the cycle. And so that's what happens to people mentally. They're simply not prepared for what's going to happen. And so I want you to understand, like, it's going to take longer than you thought, and it's going to be harder than you thought. You got to get away from these booty bandit gurus, these guys who are blowing smoke up your butt. Got to get away from them, like truly get away from them. You're not going to send out a single email and get booked. You systematize your business. You put in a lead score, the pipeline, the sales cadence. You systematize it. You systematize everything. So to get booked, you have to do the work. It's going to be boring. It's going to take longer than you thought. It's going to be harder than you thought. And if you don't get help with it, it's really going to be slow as all hell. Imagine a person who says they want to be the greatest boxer of all time and they try to do it themselves. Okay. Person, they're like, I'm going to be the greatest boxer of all time. They get a boxing bag. They just go at it. They go at it. Okay. Now imagine who says, I'm going to be the greatest boxer of all time. Hey, Mike Tyson, will you train me? Mike Tyson, sure, why not? Who do you think is going to get there faster? And so that's what happens with a lot of people. So it's like, if you don't get help, it's just going to take you longer. And what I tell people is like, look, people who are going to succeed are going to succeed with or without me. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take you. So it's like with me, the one thing that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have got trained because I didn't actually invest in a program or anything. I freaking trial and error my ass all the way to it. And so if I would have actually had someone there to help me, instead of it taking like 10 years, it would have taken me like freaking 2 maximum, just because I was like beast mode at it. And so you just got to understand that aspect. And so your problem, like I said, it's not tactics and techniques. Those are really easy to learn. Your problem are things like excuses. And it's like, it reminds me of years ago. It was really weird. It was like I got these 2 emails back to back. The first email, so his mom, she was like, Benji, I'd love to invest in your program. I'd love to speak and everything. I'd love to invest in your program, but I have kids, so I just can't see this working. I don't see how I can make this work. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden the next day I get an email very similar. It's like, Benji, I saw your program. I have kids, so I have to make this work. I thought, wow, like, that's the difference. The one speaker used her kids as an excuse. Another speaker used her kids as a reason. One speaker was like, hey, I've got kids. I can't see this working out. Another speaker said, hey, I've got kids. I have to make this work out. And so that's what I mean by like excuses and everything. A lot of speakers, they come up with excuses almost as if they're looking for reasons not to succeed. And so the problem that you have are things like excuses, things like not being able to figure things out on your own. That's like an entrepreneur's superpower is figuring things out. So things like quitting when you're frustrated. So like when people get frustrated, they're doing the CRM because they've never done it before. Maybe you're old or whatever. And so it's like, oh, I don't really know the technology stuff. So you're trying to do it. You get frustrated, or you're trying to build your website. You get frustrated and you just give up. You're like, damn it, no, forget this stuff. And so you give up. Things like that, that's what's holding you back, okay? Things like, oh, I have to do X first. I get this all the time. People are like, oh, before I start reaching out to events, I actually have to write my book first. Before I start reaching out to events, I actually have to create my product first. Before I start reaching out to events, I got to create a podcast first. And so I see that all the time in terms of like, I have to do X, Y, Z first. And so, or things like, oh, my kids, they won't allow me to work from home and all sorts of stuff. Like I said, it's like people are literally looking for reasons not to succeed. That's what's holding you back from getting booked. It's you dabbling and not committing. That's what's holding you back from getting booked. So honestly, you just got to understand stuff like that. So let's talk about how do you actually get hired. Okay, so I talk about finding events and all systematizing all that stuff. Like, how do you really get hired? You need to understand that pitching, like talking to the event, that's a very small part of getting hired. So when you pitch, there's only a few things that are going to happen. Either they won't respond. You're going to be like, hey, I'm a great speaker, blah, blah, blah. Here's a link to my website. They won't respond. They will ask for your price. They'll say, well, what do you charge? They'll say something like, we'll send it to a committee. Thanks. We'll send it to a committee. They say we don't pay speakers, or they say things like we only hire like industry related speakers. And so there's only like a few responses that people give you. So knowing this and knowing what I said about systematizing your business, what do? Well, you create a response for each one of their responses. So you know that when you pitch, when you contact an event, you know one of the possibilities is they don't respond to you at all. They just ignore your ass. They're like, nah, whatever. You know that. Knowing this, you now create a template. You create a follow-up template. Okay. So you're like, all right, well, if they don't respond, I do this. Cool. Also, if you contact them, they say, well, what do you charge? Knowing this, you systematize it, you create a template in terms of here's what you're going to say. They say, well, what do you charge? You say, well, before I give you an exact fee, here's what I need. Like, I just need answers to these questions. So everything is systematized. You understand the systems? That's what I'm talking about. And then in terms of like getting hired, you got to follow up. You have to learn how to follow up. Oh my goodness, I cannot stress this one enough. The money is made in the follow-up. I cannot stress this one enough. If you contact an event, that first point of contact is useless. No matter what you say to them, it's useless. You won't immediately send an email and they're just like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's just bring you in and pay you $10,000. The money is made in the follow-up. I can't stress this one enough because you also have to understand there is a lag time. There's a lag time between when you contact an event and when they actually pay you or when they hire you. So you got to think about it like farming. So when you're farming, you plant a seed and then you water the seed and then it finally grows. Same goes with contacting events. You plant a seed, so you first contact that seed, your first email, your first pitch. That's you planting the seed. You water the seed with your follow-ups. You water it, and then eventually it blossoms, and then eventually you get hired. And there's time. There's time between when you first contact and when you get hired. And that time is not 1 week. It's not 2 weeks. It's often like several months. And so what you do is you plant seeds every single day. You contact every single day. I'm going to contact these many events this day, these many events this day. You contact every single day. Eventually, what's going to happen is one of the events that you contacted freaking 6 months ago is going to say, hey, we actually would like to bring you in for an event. Like, hey, you contacted us a while ago. We do have an event coming up. We'd like to bring you in. That's what's going to happen. That's what happened to me with the Remax event. I contacted them like freaking 7 months ago. It was like 7 months ago. And then finally they hired me. Like, oh yeah, Benji, we'd like to bring you in. I'm like, damn, took you long enough. Shoot, come on, man. And so that's what happened. You got to understand the lag time between events. And then also it's like Bob followed up with an event for like 2 years. And when I say follow up, I don't mean like you're emailing them every single day. That's just dumb. I mean like you send an email today, then 2 weeks from now you send an email, and then all of a sudden you wait a month, then 2 months and all. So it's more like in 2 years, Bob may have sent maybe 10 emails or whatever, but he followed up with them those whole 2 years. Finally, he got booked. Same thing happened with me and Aflac. So I was talking with the vice president of Aflac. At the time, he was like one below the vice president, but then he became vice president. So at the time, I was talking with the Aflac guy. It took like 8 months before I actually got booked by Aflac. And then after that, they booked me for several events. But it was all the lag time. And it was like, okay, talk to him, follow it, talk. And then finally, like freaking 7-8 months later, finally I got booked. And you have to understand that in terms of you following up. And that's why you're going to use your CRM. That's why you systematize everything in the CRM. Your CRM is going to remind you. Your CRM is going to be like, hey, Benji, hey, remember the event that you talked to 2 months ago? Contact them today. And that's what your CRM is for. That's what it's going to do. Now, if you're thinking, Benji, come on, man. That's a lot of damn work, man. Can't you just give me an email template that'll just get me booked? Can't you just like literally say these are the events that hire speakers, these are the events that pay speakers? Come on, man. That's a lot of work, man. That's because it is. It is a lot of work. That's why there's so many broke ass speakers out there, because they don't want to do the work. And so it is a lot of work. There's no way around the work. Literally no way. Oh, dang, I almost broke my damn phone. There's no way around the work. If you don't get help with this, it will take you longer than you think. Like if you don't understand what a CRM is, sales cadence, lead score, all sorts of stuff, if you don't understand that sort of stuff, imagine you try and learn this on your own. It's going to take you longer than you think. And so the advice that I want to give right now that will literally alter the course of your life is this one thing. And it altered the course of my life with everything. This is the one piece of advice that will literally alter the course of your life. So it's really urgency. Now, I mentioned this earlier, so you got to develop a sense of urgency. And so what you have to do is You have to learn to implement instead of understand. Well, I mean, you want to understand too, but you got to implement more, but you have to do it with a sense of urgency. A lot of people are complacent, and you've heard this before. You're complacent, blah, blah, blah. I understood it. Like, remember what I said, how when I was doing the restaurants, I understood that I should cold email, that I should cold call. I understood damn near everything. I read so many damn marketing books. I understood most of it. Like when people would say, you should do it, you should do that. I understood it. I'm like, I know. But I didn't have any urgency to make me do it until I freaking got let go by all those restaurants. Then I was like, damn, Benji, you either do this or you're ass getting a job. And so that lit a fire in me, like, lights a fire under your butt. It's like, damn, come on, you got to do something. It developed a sense of urgency. Most speakers watching this are moving too slow. You're moving too slow. That's a simple fact. When I started out, man, I wish I would have freaking recorded. Like when I started, I didn't think about content, any of that stuff. I was just doing it. You don't understand how much of a beast I went into. I would wake up, I don't know, 7 in the morning or whatever. I didn't wake up as early back then as I did now, but I wake up. All I did all day, every day was contact events. That's it. And I was going like fast. I'm like, like that was it. And so a lot of speakers, you're simply moving too slow. You think if you contact 5 events a day, you're going to fill up your schedule. That's not how it works. You got to try like get 50 events a day. Like you got to try for as many as possible. Like you're moving too slow. And so you got to develop this sense of urgency, but you got to understand the difference between real urgency and fake urgency. A lot of people have this fake urgency. So fake urgency is like a chicken with their head cut off. They're just like running around. They're just doing all. It's a chicken with their head cut off. That's a lot of people have this fake urgency. And so fake urgency is when what you do isn't linked to what you want. And you're just doing things. Like that's it. You're just doing stuff. It reminds me of speakers who are like, I'm writing a book. They're like, I want to get booked on stages. All right, let me write my book. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Do you understand how many speakers are out there with a book who aren't getting booked? Like it has nothing. They're not correlated in any way. I know people think they are. I know speakers think if they have a book, they'll have authority. And then when they have authority, gigs are just going to fly in. Like they don't think it through. And so it's not linked. And that's what happens when you essentially you have a fake sense of urgency. You're doing things that aren't linked to what it is you want. And so real urgency is when you move with purpose. That's real urgency. And so it's where you're only doing a few things. You can see the difference between people with fake urgency and people with real urgency. Fake urgency, people are doing everything. They're like, I got a podcast, I got video content, I'm writing a book, I got an online course, I'm getting paid gigs, I'm doing a workshop. Like it's speakers who are doing everything. And in reality, they're saying they're making money, but trust me, they're not. And the way you know they're not is if you ask them, how are you getting gigs? Here's what they're going to tell you. Oh, I get gigs through referrals. That's a simple sign someone doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're not getting gigs. But that's a whole other topic. So there's fake urgency of people are just doing a ton of things. There's real urgency where they're simply just doing the one thing that is actually linked to what it is they want. And so it reminds me of the quote by Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee, he said this. He's like, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. People with real urgency simply say, here's the thing I got to focus on. Here's the one thing I got to do. And then they do that thing over and over and over and over again until they get the result. Like I said, you're reaching out to events until you do $250,000. When you do that, you've got all your systems built, everything, because that's the only way you're going to do $250,000. Then you can switch to doing whatever else you want to do. And so that's what happens. So here's like how schedules look between people who have fake urgency, people with real urgency. Here's how their schedules look. A person with fake urgency has a schedule that looks like this. They're like, all right, I got to report a podcast today. Then I got to do a live stream. Then I got to contact a few meeting planners and maybe possibly contact them on LinkedIn. Then I also got to edit the podcast. Oh, we got to shoot some photos for the thumbnails. Then, we got to practice a speech. Of course, you got to practice your speech. And then, we got to write the book as well. Oh, let's create some video content while we're at it. And that's what fake urgency looks like. If someone's schedule, it looks like that. Someone with real urgency, someone who's like, here's the one thing I'm going to focus on because this is the link to my goal of getting booked on a stage. Someone with real urgency, their schedule looks like this. I'm going to find events I'm going to spend 90 minutes finding events today with the keyword award banquet. After that, then I'm going to actually send that initial contact email. After that, I'm going to follow up with any events from yesterday. So any events that I sent the initial email from yesterday, I'm going to follow up with them and I'm going to pitch them. Then I'm going to rinse and repeat. That's it. Like it's very specific. It's more like I'm going to find events, I'm going to contact them, and then I'm going to do it over. I'm going to find events, I'm going to contact them. I'm going to find events, I'm going to contact them. I'm going to find events, and I'm going to contact them. And they do it over and over and over again until they fill up their schedule. That's the difference. And so urgency, it solves most of your problems. Like every single problem that you have, everything that I mentioned with the mindset stuff, the doubt, all that, it's solved when you have a sense of urgency. And what I mean is, like, think about it like this. Anyone can create a sense of urgency inside of you if they kidnapped someone from your family, your son, your mom, your dad, whoever, daughter, your puppy, whoever. If they kidnap someone from your family, think about how you would do things differently than what you're doing right now. Think about it. So if someone kidnaps someone from your family, would you actually say, Benji, I don't know any of this tech stuff. Like, man, you're talking about CRM, lead score. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I can't figure this stuff out. I'm just, you know what, man, I'm done. I'm done for that. I can't figure this stuff out. Would you actually quit? Like if someone kidnaps someone from your family and say, hey, man, in a year, you have to actually make 6 figures because if you don't, I'm going to kill him. Would you literally sit down and be like, I can't really figure out this tech stuff. All right, I'm done. I'm going to go watch Netflix. You wouldn't do that because you'd have a real sense of urgency. Your problem would be solved. You would literally push through the frustration. You get frustrated. You don't know the tech stuff, how to build a website. You don't know how to do the CRM. You wouldn't just stop. You would just be like, oh my God, if I stop, oh my goodness, they're going to kill my mom. Oh my goodness, I got to figure this thing out, man. Give me some damn coffee. I got to figure this thing out. And so you would do that. Like you wouldn't make any excuses, like literally no excuses. You'd have no excuses. You would get more disciplined instantly, like instantly. Like think if someone kidnapped your mom, said, hey, in a year, you either make 6 figures speaking or I'm going to kill your mom. You would get more disciplined. So a friend sends you a text, hey man, let's go out to eat. Hey, let's go to the bar. You're like, absolutely not, man. My mom got kidnapped. I got to actually freaking sit down and cold email, man. I got to get booked, man. And so like, all your problems will be solved damn near instantly when you develop a sense of urgency. And it's like, you wouldn't be sitting down planning. Like a lot of you guys, you sit down, you plan, you're like, okay, I watched this video with this guy, Benji Bruce from Speaking Lifestyle, and he talked about all ways to find events and contact them. All right, I got to write my plan. Let me write out my plan. You wouldn't do that. You would just be like, all right, man, he said I can find events using the keyword award banquet. Let me type that in right now. Okay, what do I say? I don't really know. I'm going to say whatever the hell I need to say, whatever pops to my mind. Hi, so-and-so. I'm a motivational speaker. I'd love to come speak at your event. Here's a link to my website. Okay, I'll improve that later on. I'll improve it later on. Okay, well, let me contact this person. And that's what you do. Like when you develop a sense of urgency, your problems, they tend to be solved really fast. Like all the problems that you have just get solved really, really quick. You don't worry about what to say, who to contact. Like imagine imagine your mom got kidnapped. And they say you either make 6 figures within the year doing speaking or I'm going to kill them. And you're not going to say, well, who do I contact? Like you're not going to look at an event. You're going to be like, who do I contact? Who do I contact? I don't know who to contact. HR, sales, marketing. I don't know who to contact. I don't know. Let me go to a Facebook group and type it in. Please, someone. Oh my goodness. I'm going to wait and watch Netflix while they respond. Oh my goodness. I don't know who to contact. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to be like, look, I'm going to contact whatever freaking email is right there. That's the email I'm going to take. And I'm going to start pitching myself. Do you see how a sense of urgency literally solves damn near every single one of your problems? All the problems you have about who do I contact? What do I say? All that gets solved when you have a sense of urgency, real urgency. You commit instead of dabble. And so the way you create a sense of urgency, one, you move faster, like do everything faster. Like your body's going to be like, okay, you're doing things faster. Your mind's going to be like, well, if my body's like going faster, then it must be a reason. Your mind's going to feel this sense of urgency. And so you go faster. The way you create a sense of urgency is things have to get real for you. Right now, it's not real for you. And what I mean by that is you have no skin in the game. And what I mean by that is there's essentially you haven't increased the stakes of winning and losing. So right now you can watch this video and you can do nothing and your life will continue as it is right now. There are no stakes of you losing, of you not getting booked. There's no risk whatsoever. You probably have a normal job right now. There's no risk of you not getting booked. So you haven't increased the stakes of not taking action. And so you haven't developed this sense of urgency. Because like I said, you can do nothing. You can just click out of this video and be like, all right, okay, cool. Yeah, I liked it, didn't like it, whatever. And nothing's going to change for you. And so it's like, in order for you to have a sense of urgency, you have to increase the risks of the game. Like you have to increase the stakes of not taking action. And one of the best ways to do this, without a doubt, it involves money. So when I started building the personal brand, so I was getting all the gigs and everything, I'm like, okay, I saw all the trash content about all these speakers saying, oh, if you just use this email, you'll get booked. I'm like, okay, let me build Speaking Lifestyle. Let me show people how to really do it. And so when I started doing that, I was doing it for a while. I was producing all this content, but because I was making so much money doing it, I didn't actually commit to teaching people how to do it. I was making way too much damn money actually getting booked. So I never committed to it. And so, I didn't have a sense of urgency to build Speaking Lifestyle. And I knew this. So I thought to myself, okay, Benji, how do I create a sense of urgency? And I knew if I increase the stakes of me losing something, then of like me not taking action, then it would create a sense of urgency. So what I did is I went to Facebook and I bought some ads. I paid for ads. And so at this point, because money was involved, if I didn't do anything, if I didn't actually, like, if I literally did nothing, I would lose money. So when I start spending money, I was like, okay, shoot, I got to make this damn thing work, man. Come on. I'm like, shoot. And that's what happened. Like when I increased the stakes of me losing, that's when I actually got more serious about it. And so that's what happens with a lot of people. And so you got to think in terms of like, well, what's your motivation? And this is where they say like, what's your why and everything. And I really implore you not to create a politically correct why, to not create a politically correct reason. What I mean by this is if you ask someone, well, why are you speaking? Like, why are you doing this? They're going to say, I want to change the world. I got a message. I have to change the world. Without a doubt, my reason from the very get-go was to make money. I was like, why am I doing this? To make money. We were broke as a joke. Like when I was growing up, like it was at the point where when we were kids, see, we didn't know how broke we were when we were kids, because it was little things like, all right, mom, she's a single mom, 3 kids. And there were little things like sometimes she wouldn't eat and she would just say like, oh, I'm not hungry. But as kids, like we didn't know the difference. Like she didn't eat because she couldn't afford for everyone to eat. So she simply didn't eat and she allowed us to eat. But we didn't know that as kids. We just thought, oh, our mom's not hungry. That's why she's not eating. That's what we thought. Eventually, when we got older, we're like, damn, we're broke. And so that it instilled this thing inside of my head. I'm like, I will never be broke ever again. And so I was strictly in it for the money. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make money. And that was it. It wasn't politically correct, but it's what motivated me. It's what drove me to actually make money. It's what drove me to essentially get 10, 20, $30,000 gigs and do 6 figures in a month. It drove me because I'm like, I will never be broke ever again. And so you have to find your motivation, and the motivation has to be real. It can't be something where you're like, I'm going to tell everybody, everyone's going to be like, oh my goodness, you're so amazing because you want to change the world. If your motivation isn't truly motivating you to get up and go get it, it's not real. It's not a real motivation. It's a politically correct motivation that you've decided upon because you heard other people talk about it and you should have it like this. If you don't literally wake up and just go, whatever you think that motivation is, you haven't found it yet. For me, I was like, make money. That was my motivation. And eventually you make so much, like let's say you make a lot of money, then you got to change the motivation because making money, you're like, well, I got a ton of money now. So now it's like, well, what's the motivation at this point? So you have to truly, truly find your motivation. And so you will have urgency when you have you'll know you'll have urgency when you have speed of implementation. So speed of implementation is essentially decreasing the time from I know to I'm doing. So I know what I should do to here's what I'm doing. and you want to decrease that time. So a lot of speakers are like, I know I should cold email, and then a week goes by and they still haven't sent a single damn email. They're still on forums or whatever looking up, well, what do I say? And they're still doing that. You want to decrease that. You need a real sense of urgency, and a real sense of urgency, the way you know you have it, is speed of implementation. And that's what I mean. Like, that's why speed of implementation, urgency, it solves all your damn problems. You're like, what do I say? Like, I'm going to say whatever the hell I need to say at this point, and I'll improve it as I go. Who do I contact? I don't really care. Whatever damn email's right there, that's the damn email I'm going to contact. So when you have a real sense of urgency, you go from from planning mode to you're doing a lot. And so that's how you know you have a real sense of urgency. So like I said, the tactics are easy. The tactics are things that you just buy. It's like SpeakPro Academy, which is a program I'm going to show you in just a second. But tactics are things that you just buy. You're like, okay, I bought SpeakPro Academy. There's an email templates. Here's how you set up CRM. The tactics are things you buy. But what actually changes your life are the things that you simply cannot buy. It's like what can't be bought are the things that really need to be taught. Ooh, that rhymed. That should be Eminem, man. So it's like what can't be bought. Those are the things that can't be taught. Those are things like no excuses, like zero excuses whatsoever, a sense of urgency, commitment instead of dabbling. Those things can't be bought, but those are the things you actually need. Those are things that are much more important than email templates and all that sort of stuff. They're way more important. And so what you have to do, like I said, you have to develop a sense of urgency. You have to start decrease the moment from I know I should be doing to getting it done. And so there's a lot of information out there that makes you feel good, but it lacks detail by the booty bandits, the gurus who, when they create sales videos, webinars, all sort of stuff, it makes you feel good. Like I've seen a couple, I'm like, damn, I feel great. I watch, I'm like, damn, I feel like I can take on the world and everything. But then when you're like in the programs, there's no detail in terms of the stuff. And so you have to stop. You want to essentially stop looking at things that just make you feel good, because the execution is what matters, and the execution sucks. Like, you do not feel good sitting down all day, every day, cold emailing. It's boring as all hell, but that is what gets you the end result. And so you truly, truly have to understand the difference. So here's the thing. I mean, if you want help getting booked, you have to commit mentally first. There's no doubt about that. Like you got to go from dabble to commitment. Like without it, like literally nothing else is going to work. I gave you the different ways to find events. I gave you different things you can say when you contact them. I gave you the pipe and all that sort of stuff. Like I said, none of it matters when you dabble until you commit. That's when things actually start to change for you. So I can actually help you in terms of all this stuff. Like if you join the SpeakPro Academy, I'll show you everything that's inside the SpeakPro Academy in just a second. But if you want my help, then join the SpeakPro Academy. So let me show you what's inside of it, and then you can make the decision yourself in terms of whether or not you want to actually join this program. And I can help you get booked. I can help you get on stages. But let me say, I want you to understand that I will not be doing the damn work for you. If you're the type who's like, I want a speaker agent to book gigs for me. Oh, I want to get on Speaker Bureau and they just send me gigs. If you're that type, this will not help you out in any way. You are a lazy ass mofo. Like you want someone to build your damn business for you. Come here so I can pimp slap you. All right. I need you to understand that you have to go into commitment mode before you buy the program. I want you to understand that. If you try to buy a program, then you try to commit, what'll happen is you'll buy a program, you'll look at some of the stuff, you'll be like, oh, I agree with it, don't agree with it, whatever, and then you won't do anything, okay? You commit. You're like, I have to make this work. I don't care if I literally wake up and I do not feel like it. I don't care if I wake up, I'm sick. I don't care if I do it for several weeks and for some reason I get frustrated. You don't care. You're like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to figure it out. And so I'm going to show you what's inside SpeakPro Academy. And if you want to join, become a member and I'll help you get booked on stages. This is the back end of the SpeakPro Academy, and I'm going to kind of just show you around in terms of everything that's inside of it. I can't show you everything because there's a ton of stuff in here. We'd probably be here for a couple hours, but basically here's what you're going to see when you're first logged in. And so there's a lot of programs inside of here that's going to help you get booked. So like, let's say we click on Event Finder here. Event Finder is going to show you the process of setting up your CRM, finding events, contacting events, systematizing the whole thing. So it's like here, there's a lot of training within each one of these programs. So it's like here, you'll notice, okay, you set up the event profile, all sorts of stuff inside of here, the email templates, but notice there's all this training, audios, videos, everything, even like the templates. Like here, we'll click on the email templates, and everything's kind of done for you. You're kind of just copying and pasting these templates. So you'll simply click on one of these and put these into your CRM, put it into your own process. And all these templates are templates that you're going to use when you're finding and contacting events. And so, like I said, there's a lot inside of here in terms of the training. So you're essentially going to start here. You want to start there, and then you can kind of bounce around as you like. But every single one of these programs has a lot. It's going to show you just how to really get booked. Like here, Industry Icon, it's really going to show you more of the online portion if you want to like build your speaker training programs. So here's everything in terms of building the programs. So there's a lot in here, and you're probably going to get overwhelmed with a lot of the training that's inside the SpeakPro Academy. But once again, you can go inside the Facebook group. So you'll go inside of our Facebook group once you join, and then you'll be able to ask all the questions that you want. I'll be sure to answer. I'm sure other people are going to answer as well. But there's a lot of stuff inside of here if you want to actually get booked. So like here, Brand Builder talks about just how to build your speaker brand, the website and all that. Event Finder shows you how to find and contact events. Authority and Industry Icon are more about the online portion. The SpeakPro modules, it kind of shows you what to do in terms of starting from scratch. So like, let's go here. So like, notice it kind of walks you through everything that you need to do starting from scratch if you're literally just starting out. Presentation Persuasion is strictly about how to get on the stage and sell from the stage. And so there's a lot, like even photos and graphics. Let's say you're just starting out as a speaker. You're obviously not going to have like too many photos of you on stage or anything. So you can simply use these photos. These are photos from my speaking gigs, to where when I would actually go inside, when I would actually, well, before I step on a stage, I would essentially take pictures, or maybe like pictures when I'm on stage, you could barely see me. And it's things like that, to where you kind of see a crowd and things like that, to where anyone can really use these. So these aren't stock photos. They're actually my photos that you can use. And so, of course, there's a ton of resources. Once again, this is hands down going to be the most detailed speaker training thing you've ever seen, ever. Because you get everything, templates, contract, like a list of questions, everything. I mean, I even thought about, well, what about on your website, if you don't really know what to say on your website? Well, here I've got copywriting text. So you can actually use this text for your website. Here's different ways to find events. If you're going to start doing AdWords, I mean, basically everything. Like, I mean, I thought of everything that you need as a speaker to get booked. And we just put it inside of a program. So there's a lot inside of this program, but everything here is going to just help you get booked on stages. And like I said, if you're overwhelmed, you can simply just go inside the Facebook group, ask questions inside the Facebook group, and I'm there to help you out. Other people are going to help you out as well. But like I said, there's a lot in this program. And then if you need any help, make sure you ask. And anything that gets added, of course, is going to get added. You can look at the new programs that are added. But like I said, each one of these programs has a lot. You're going to kind of just click around in terms of where do you personally need to start. So maybe you need to start doing your online portion. Maybe you just need to start finding events, contacting events. So it really depends on where you personally need to start. And that's a training that you're going to start on. And then whenever you have questions, make sure you ask the questions, because everything is inside the SpeakPro Academy. But maybe you're going to have like a hard time maybe implementing, or you want something more specific in terms of, hey, I contacted this event and they said this, how would you reword this? So that's the kind of stuff that you're going to post inside of our group. So like I said, there's a lot in here in terms of that's going to help you get booked on stages. but everything inside of here is going to help you systematize your speaking business, to help you fill up your schedule as long as you do the work. So just remember that as long as you do the work, you can actually fill up your speaking schedule. And so make sure you just join the SpeakPro Academy. I'm here to help you out. Everyone inside the group is there to help you out. We're going to do whatever it takes to help you get booked on stages. Once again, as long as you do the work. I mean, don't expect anybody to do the work for you. As long as you do the work, we're going to help you get booked on stages. It doesn't matter whether you're a newbie speaker, whether you're a pro at this. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you're going to find a lot of stuff in here that's going to be more systematic to help you get booked on stages, to help you fill up your calendar, to help you get paid more if you just want to charge more as a speaker. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I'm here to help you out. So make sure you join the SpeakPro Academy, and I look forward to getting you booked on stages.